Welcome back to the Inspiration Station, where stories spark action. I'm your host, Mr. U. If you're watching us for the very first time, thanks again for making us part of your week. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. Now, our show is primarily about the stories that are transformational, stories of courage and resilience. We have with us today author and personality specialist, Gail Showalter. We bring you in the studio, Gail. How are you today? Good to see you.
I'm doing great. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Same here. Glad to have you here. All right, so let's jump into our combo for today. If I understand right, you've been trained for over 26 years now as a personality specialist. What does that entail exactly? If you can break that down for us.
Well, first of all, you have to do some reading and studying, and then going to trainers who know what they're doing, teach you about it, and give you ways to use it. And then you continue to study. And I started out using the Wired That Way in 2020, which is still being published. It's a great book. And then I went into the Enneagram later, got trained at a facility in Houston, and then got further training in Dallas from people who are much more studious than I am. And I believe it is very valid information that people could really, really use in their lives. Parents can use it with their children. Couples can use it in their marriage. People can use it at work, which is where I wish I had known a lot about this when I was back in the workforce. So it's very valuable stuff, and people don't think it's valuable or valid sometimes. But if you study it long enough, you start to see the reasons why it is workable, usable, and valid.
I love it. I would have loved to have had used that in my time when I was a supervisor with the government. I think that would have been valuable for me at that time. But also there's a bit of a concern for me, because once you understand these personalities enough, especially with the Enneagram and the Myers-Briggs, etc., once you understand it enough, we can be dangerously close to manipulating people. How do you avoid crossing that line as somebody who is skilled in understanding personalities, but at the same time you want to make sure you take care of people and honor people in the right way? How do you personally deal with not crossing that line into manipulation with so much information in your hands?
That is a very good question. You could do that. You could take this information and use it in a very devious way, which I never have had anybody do that who's studied with me. But the thing is, you want to be authentic about who you are. And once you comprehend the idea that you have your personality and it's okay, it's really okay, then you can allow the other person to be who they are without manipulation. And then you can accept that this is how they are. And you can be an understanding person and a compassionate person about the other person's personality instead of trying to manipulate and use. Because what you're doing is you're becoming an authentic person by recognizing these things, the traits that go along with this. And I'm not saying we're cookie cutters, that we're all made out of these just four things. No, I'm not even implying that. It's just a tool. It's a way to relate to other people without manipulation, but with respect for who they are.
I love it. Was there most stories where people are helping people on a broad scale like you are, it usually comes from a personal story or a personal struggle. Was there a struggle you faced personally that kind of helped you to discover, if you will, the power of understanding personality differences?
Funny you should ask. Yes. Well, when I first started studying this, my older sister went with me. And what you had to do before you went into this training was you had to read these 5 books, and you had to do a survey, a personality profile. And so she's asking me the night before we started, well, how did your profile come out? And I told her how I thought it was. And she said, that is not no, that is not right. You need to do this again. So she sat there in this room on the bed with me, and she made me go through all 40 questions on this survey, and had me rethink about how I had been growing up. Okay. And so the next morning, she took me to Florence Littauer, who's the original author, no longer with us, unfortunately. And she said, is it possible for a person's personality to be altered or changed? And Florence went right into this and said, if the person is born as a popular sanguine, they will do whatever it takes to please a powerful spouse. And I had been divorced from a powerful spouse. And it was true. I had tried to be the perfect wife, mother, and housekeeper, and all those things that I was trained to in my generation. And I had altered myself. Now that personality will do that. The other personalities don't. The powerful does not change to please anybody else. They just don't. And so, yeah, that was extremely valuable to me. And it took several years and another marriage to come out of that and to realize who I really need to be, or I wouldn't be on this podcast today.
No, I totally understand. I got a chance to interview Florence's daughter on our show. It was such a kick for me because I love their work so much, and I've spent many years working with that book Wired That Way. So it was an honor to meet Marita.
Oh, so did you interview Marita?
I did.
Great. Yeah. That's great.
It was fantastic. You probably can find it on our YouTube channel or Facebook or however you get your social media. You see the interview. It was fantastic. Yeah. One of the things I want to ask you, because it's kind of hand in hand with your response, I guess, was there a belief, probably a limiting belief that you had about yourself that you had to overcome so you can be the woman and the leader that you are today? A lot of people, it's good to kind of face that, especially for audiences who are watching and listening right now. They're like, okay, so what'd you get past? Because I'm dealing with this stuff. So I'd love to have that be displayed to the audience so they can kind of be encouraged that, you know what?
Well, I think, if you interviewed Marita, she probably explained that the thing to do is to focus on your strengths, not your weaknesses. And everybody has strengths and weaknesses. And so I began to look at my strengths in a different way. I began to use them at work instead of looking at them or looking at the weaknesses side of my personality. And I think that we all tend to think negatively sometimes. And so it's better to look at the strong points and to grow in those strong points and not focus on your weaknesses and trying to change yourself completely. Yeah.
Okay. We did talk about reframing. So that was definitely a part of our conversation. We spent a lot of time there, actually. It seems like you're spending a lot of time focusing on single mothers.
I do.
Is there a reason why they are your focus? And part two of that question is, and how does the personality assessments assist in that process for you? Go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, I was a single mother for 16 years. It was a rough road. And I didn't know all of this about personalities at the time. And I so wish that I had. It would have made an enormous difference in how I had raised my children. But I was single for 16 years. So when I remarried, I wanted to give back, and I had an opportunity to do that. And so I formed a nonprofit for single moms that evolved into what it is today, is called Single Moms Empowered, with the big ED at the end, because what we do is we support single moms who are attempting to get a degree to go back to work. And we've been very successful. It's really wonderful. We're about to have a big bingo event, and we help them with childcare, sometimes with automobile issues, sometimes with counseling. It's not all the same. It depends on the individual. And we're very careful who we bring into the program. But we've got several women who have graduated as vocational nurses, dental hygienists, radiology technicians. We even have a police officer, social workers, things that they can usually graduate in a couple of years, and we're there for them, something that they don't normally have, a support system. And yeah, that was all because I was single and I had a degree. I mean, that made a huge difference in our lives. So
I love that.
I'm not a person that thinks everybody needs a degree. I don't. My kids don't have college degrees. They're doing great. But single mothers in this world today, they need something to lean back on if they don't have a good job with insurance and that sort of thing.
Okay. Do you feel as though understanding personality types helps to improve parenting? I mean, because I'm careful by asking that because I know a lot of parents. I'm a parent. I'm a great grandparent now, so I'm really careful about using other people's formulas to do things in my own life. Because sometimes they don't always equate the one size fits all, like you said, cookie cutter. That doesn't apply in the majority of cases. But just as a personality expert, do you feel like understanding those types, the assessments, quizzes, those things, that they actually help improve parenting in any way, or is it just information?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yes, over and over, yes, because we have children and we think, well, they're going to be like us. They're going to behave a certain way. They're going to do a certain thing. And it just doesn't work that way. It just don't work that way. And so I have 3 children. Each one's very, very different, very different. And I have 3 grown stepchildren, also very different. And so to expect them all to be a certain and fall into a certain pattern is not a good idea. And I use the profiles. I've used the profiles. Now, 2 of my kids have done them seriously. One of them never did say much to me about it until he and his fiance were getting married. And she made him go to a class and they used the Wired That Way profile in that class. Oh, wow. And that was several years back. And so, yeah, it helped him. And my oldest is a girl and she definitely got help with it because she's a powerful, choleric girl. And so it helped her to know when to be a little more mild than she can be. And and it helped her to understand other people's personalities. And so when I'm with single mothers, that's one of the first things I address. And it's things that it opens their eyes. They'd never thought about it before. They never considered it until they looked at it and then thought, yeah, that's why my son does that, puts that off. He procrastinates and me nagging him doesn't help. And, just all kinds of illustrations that you can get. I love the one that Florence used to tell about the popular sanguine mother bringing the cupcakes to school for her son's birthday celebration. And she's all dolled up in these bright colors and red fingernail polish and all this. But the son that's having the birthday is meek, mild, and phlegmatic and peaceful. And he was embarrassed by her behavior. Instead of being grateful, oh, my mom's here with cupcakes, it wasn't like that. So you have to know your child and be alert to those different traits.
A single mother was listening today, which I'm pretty sure we have at least a handful, and they're feeling exhausted and maybe overwhelmed. Perhaps they don't feel seen at all.
Right.
What would you want her to know?
First of all, you are seen. We know you're there. And don't be embarrassed. Believe in yourself. Really believe in yourself. Learn about yourself if it's through personalities or friendships, and then have goals and move forward. You can do it. I've watched single moms. I watched one single mom with 5 children get a LVN certificate, get a job. Wow. It's hard. I'm not saying that, and I'm not sugarcoating it or acting like it's an easy thing, because it isn't. But I do want moms to know that there are a lot of organizations now out there that want to help you. And if you're interested, you can contact me. I'm familiar with an international organization that provides scholarships for women going back to school. You can reach me and I'll be glad to give you that information. I have charts. I have a chart for single moms, parents, and children with the different personalities. Like if you have one personality and so they can email me and I'll send them one of those charts. So, anything I can do.
I love that. I do have your website and your nonprofit website up on the screen for those that are listening but not watching us today. It's going to also be in the show notes, so you have no qualm to being able to find it and find Gail if you need to. But it's www.gailshowalter.com. It's SHOWALTER. And of course, the nonprofit is www.singlemomsempowered with the ED capitalized.org. Okay. So if you guys are watching and listening and you haven't caught that or you can catch it, reach out to me. I'm happy to connect you with Gail. Not a problem at all. Final question for you, Gail. And thanks again for being on the show today. If we appreciate the insight. Final question. If you can describe one situation where you were the most challenged in your helping single mothers in parenting using personality differences and understanding, was there one challenge you could think of that was like probably the biggest challenge of your career in doing this? Anything come to mind for you?
Well, I keep thinking about one of my former students. I taught Braille, and one of the girls was going through a divorce, and she lived away, not nearby. So yeah, that was a great chance to help her to use a profile, to think about who she was dealing with in her divorce, as well as the people where she was trying to get a job. So yeah, applying that to them and to her situations was a really big hurdle, and it helped. It helped.
Thank you for being here, author and personality specialist, Gail Showalter. Thanks again for making us part of your week and for sharing your story with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
The pleasure is mine. If you're here watching for the very first time, thanks for making us part of your week. That's Gail Showalter. I'm Mr. U, and this is the Inspiration Station, where stories spark action. Have a great day. Stay inspired.